Good morning, honorable members, and those with the sound of my voice. I join in with the psalmist today in declaring, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. In our Moments of Impact devotional segment, I'll be sharing a devotional today entitled, Watch Your Mouth. Today, I want to talk briefly about the importance of the words that come out of your mouth. Many people use words loosely as if words have no meaning. Words are like seeds. They reproduce after their kind. In the natural, if you plant an apple seed, you will reap an apple tree. It's impossible to plant an apple seed and reap an orange tree. Similarly, your words will determine the kind of harvest your life will attract. Whatever you sow is what you will reap. If you sow negative words over your life, your family, your children, your business, or even your political party, don't expect positive results. Therefore, it is incumbent on us to be responsible with the words that come out of our mouth. We must all watch our mouth. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 3 says, those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. Contrary to what many believe, words do matter. Your words can ignite a fire, or your words can extinguish a fire. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1 says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stir up anger. Your words can incite fear, or your words can infuse hope. Your words can build up an organization or destroy it. Your words can build up our nation, or it can pull our nation down. Your words can build up a person, or it can destroy a person. There's an old saying I remember growing up, and I think many of you will remember this saying also, and it says, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The older I get, the more I realize how that saying was so false. Yes, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words can certainly hurt. Words have the ability to pierce your inner being and inflict permanent damage on you as an individual. In conclusion, I want to read a portion of scripture in your hearing from the words written by King Solomon in Proverbs chapter 18, verses 20 and 21. And it reads, a man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Verse 21 says, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. I leave you with this final thought today. Watch your mouth. Your life depends on it. Selah. Think and act on these things. Let us pray. Our gracious and eternal Father, we praise and we bless your name. Father, you are indeed greatly and you are worthy to be praised. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, your name is worthy to be praised. We pause today, Lord, to say thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. Father, we ask today that you would help us to watch our mouth. Help us, Almighty God, to be responsible with the words that comes out of our mouth. Help us not to utter words of destruction, doubt, and despair, but instead words of peace, words of hope, and words of joy. You said in your word, you satisfieth our mouth with good things, so that our youth is renewed like the eagles. And so we thank you today, Lord, for not only hearing our prayers, but also answering them. Now, Father, we ask that you would fill this place with your presence. We know, God, that in your presence there is fullness of joy, and at your right hand there are pleasures forevermore. Father, we pray for our honorable members today. We ask, Almighty God, that you would pour out your wisdom, pour out your knowledge upon each of them as they assemble in this honorable house today. Father, we ask that you would lead, you would guide, and you would direct them. For Lord, if there's ever a time we need you, it is now. We ask you, gracious Father, to please don't withhold your hands from us. continue to bless our nation with wealth, prosperity, and favor. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let us all pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day daily bread, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Good morning, honorable members. At the suspension, we were debating a compendium of bills. I presume we are now ready. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exumas and Ragged Island.
Morning, Madam Speaker.
Morning.
I rise today on behalf of the resilient people of the Exumas and Ragged Island to offer my unequivocal support to the 2023-2024 budget. Firstly, I want to congratulate our Prime Minister on this budget and the many ways in which it shores up society and creates a brighter future for Bahamians who are here now and for generations to come. Our Prime Minister is doing an incredible job in leading the fiscal affairs of this nation. Before I descend or ascend into my substantive remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to send a shout out this morning to the graduating class of L.N. Coakley. That ceremony is unfortunately going on right now, but I wish them every success, and I know that I will see them very soon. Secondly, I would be remiss if I did not wish all of the men in this place and across the country a belated Happy Father's Day. May God strengthen you as your families look to you to provide and protect, to nurture, and to discipline. On this day, yesterday, I paid tribute to my own children for their resilience and their sacrifice, and to all the young people across the country whom I have inspired in some way to do more and to go higher. I have done much, but I count it a singular honor and my obligation to the next generation to be the best father that I can be. Madam Speaker, I am honored to have been given the opportunity to serve as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation. Politics, as you know, is sometimes a thankless and merciless existence. It is at those moments that I am most grateful to have the love of my family. I thank my dear wife, Cecilia, for being a soldier, my children for their understanding, and the men and women across this country, from Grand Key to Great Inagua, and everywhere in between, who pray for me daily. In a few weeks, we will celebrate 50 years as an independent nation. And in that, to God we owe the glory, as it was the fate of the Bahamian people that first moved this mountain. Nations are not merely born of documents and flags and ceremonies. Nations are built. Indeed, we have built this nation with our own hands, and we are exceedingly proud. And for 70 years, the Progressive Liberal Party has concerned itself with the laser focus of nation building. You see, in the PLP, we understand that nation building is our duty. It is because of the PLP that we had majority rule. It's because of the PLP that we have independence. It's because of the PLP that we have the underpinning focus on education, health care, and national security that we do in this nation. We are builders
I'm glad to see you all here.
who move this nation forward
You too, faithful.
and raise towers on foundations of the faith and the work of our forefathers who dared to risk it all for their country. We pay tribute to our founders who always understood that nation building is serious business.
That's right.
They did not risk it all
I agree.
so that we could all live lives of leisure, but so that we could have the freedom to determine our destiny by our capacity to harness our talents and dedicate ourselves to the hard work that builders face. And though we may build structures and mechanisms that deliver things faster and better, nothing God has even ever tasked us to build will be as important as the families that men and women create that provide the backbone of this nation. I say that to say, though I am a PLP and proud of it,
That's right.
when I come to this house, I come to build the Bahamas. The Prime Minister, my colleagues and I
Copyrighted.
come to build a better environment for men, women, and children to thrive in this country. We come here to build better processes,
That's right.
craft sounder policies, offer more relief, and address the ills that plague our people.
Yeah.
We want to protect those who are frail, empower those who are strong, and make the way easier for those yet unborn. A path that is easier than the way I had growing up in Forbes Hill, Little Exuma, easier than the way the Prime Minister had growing up in Old Bight, Cat Island. Not because life must be easy, but because if builders do the work they should, life does not need to be unnecessarily hard. I say all that to say, I know who I am. I am a Bahamian, as we all are. And if what we do here does not build our country, then why are we here at all? This budget, Madam Speaker, builds a better Bahamas. So I come here with no agenda other than that. I believe wholeheartedly that the Progressive Liberal Party is always the best party to govern the Bahamas, but I can determine when I put down my political sword. So today, that is what I intend to do. As the pastor said, I will watch my mouth. But today I have so much to cover. I will account for my stewardship. There's so much going on with the work we are doing. I have very little time to attack the F&M, as they seem to delight themselves in attacking us. What we must always remember in this place is that we are here to serve the people and not our own egos. So I got no real time for that. Maybe just a little, but very little.
About 10 minutes.
But what we got going on ain't got nothing to do with the F&M. And honestly, Madam Speaker, it's get tiring talking about those who were so expert at losing. We are about winning. We want wins for the Bahamian people.
Win, no matter
This
what.
budget is a win for investment in food security. This budget is a win for children who will receive nourishment through the free school breakfast program. This budget is a win for those who seek more affordable housing. In this budget, we have provided for new hospitals, upgraded clinics, and new schools. We have made major provisions for investment in national security and the safety of abused women and children. And we have given some wins to our family islands with investment in infrastructure. Your PLP government is working for you, and we're just getting started. I am delighted to have been given a ministry by the Honorable Prime Minister that puts me at the front end of business development and economic growth. Yes, tourism is the engine for the economy and the goose that lays the needed eggs, but must also be seen to be the engine for national development, the tool for innovation, and the catalyst for Bahamian empowerment. We must indeed do even more to leverage tourism, to create wealth, and to nurture new millionaire entrepreneurs. Madam Speaker, leading into the 2021 elections, I was most honored to be given the challenge by our party leader, now Prime Minister Davis, to lead the PLP's Blueprint for Change, along with a distinguished team of party supporters. Fundamental in all 11 sections of the 10-point plan was the theme, Bahamian empowerment. I love to see it come together, come to fruition, bit by bit, ministry by ministry. And I am pleased to tell you that we're not only working for you, we are delivering for you, and we're just getting started, Madam Speaker. In health, we committed to a new hospital in Grand Bahama. We have broken ground and expect to advance it this fiscal year. In health and wellness, your government is working for you. In education, as promised, we completed a learning loss study and are working to turn around the harm done by the pandemic and the Minister administration. We're negotiating new contracts with teachers, recruiting more teachers and education faculty, and new schools are on the way. Your government is working for you. In agriculture, we promised big transformative support for food security. We delivered the Golden Yoke program. We're providing levels of support for agriculture and fisheries never seen before. We got a real Minister of Agriculture. He walks the walk, and he's not just talking the talk. This minister is working for you. In housing, we promised to make home ownership easier with a rent-to-own program. And we have built and are building scores of affordable homes. Thanks to the Honorable Minister from Elizabeth, we are demonstrating that your government is working for you. In Grand Bahama, we promised compassionate social relief for victims of Dorian. We brought the beautiful Grand Bahama program for many who were displaced. We extended the SIRS orders, and we passed the Evidence Amendment Act to make it easier for families to get closure. I tell you, Grand Bahama, your minister is working for you. In youth, sports, and culture, we launched the National Youth Guard, and we're bringing back the Bahama Games, as we promised in our Blueprint for Change. Your government is working for you. In the Family Islands, we're driving infrastructure, upgrading airports, putting more money into local government, and driving investments. This administration, through all of its ministries, working for you. In the public service and labor, unrest used to be the order of the day under the Minister administration. But since coming to office, We have demonstrated our friendship for labor. We've executed more than 18 industrial agreements. The Bahamian people will not be seduced by poetic talks because we understand that we have work to do, and therefore the PLP is working for you. In finance, we promise to restore faith in public finances. Revenue is up, the economy is growing, and we are projecting the lowest budget deficit in a decade. Your Minister of Finance, our beloved Prime Minister, never stops working for you. And we're just getting started. In tourism, Madam Speaker, our performance over this fiscal year continues to shatter pre-pandemic levels and further positions the Bahamas amongst the regional and global leaders in terms of overall tourism recovery. In tourism, Madam Speaker, we're working for you. And we're just getting started. At the end of April 2023, overall air and sea arrivals surpassed 2022 levels by 79% and exceeded the banner 2019 numbers by 32%. Looking specifically at the numbers between January to April 2022, we welcome an overall 1.9 million visitors. During that same period in 2019, we welcomed 2.7 million visitors. But guess what? In the same 4-month period this year, we welcomed some 3.5 million visitors. And we got 8 months left on this current trajectory. We fully expect to shatter the much-touted historic 2019 overall visitor arrival numbers by the end of the third quarter, and will conservatively welcome well over 8 million visitors by the end of 2023, and we're just getting started. Air stopover arrivals, heads and beds that stay longer and spend more surpassed 2022 levels by 34% and matched 2019 performance levels, pacing well ahead of overall global pre-pandemic recovery forecasts. And at some point within this fiscal year, we saw most of our islands experiencing their most historic monthly foreign air arrivals. We're breaking records in Nassau, Paradise Island, in South Andros too, North Andros and the Berry Islands, Cat Key, Cat Island, and Eleuthera.
Wow. Hallelujah.
Exuma, and Long Island too. We're breaking records.
We work it.
If we analyze the major islands that have not reached full recovery, we will see that after being shut down for over 2 years, San Salvador's air stopovers have now returned to 92% of its 2019 levels, and is expected to end this year also experiencing record air arrivals. In Grand Bahama, air stopover surpassed its 2022 levels by 70% and rebounded to over 80% of pre-pandemic levels. However, when we combine total air and sea arrivals in Grand Bahama, total visitor arrivals exceeded 22 levels by 137%. And overall visitor arrivals have soared to 91% of 2019 pre-pandemic Dorian levels. In Abaco, air stopover arrivals have exceeded 22 levels by 70% and recorded 75% of pre-pandemic Dorian airlift. However, when we look at Abaco's overall air and sea arrivals, you will see that overall visitor arrivals surpassed 2022 figures by 72%. And at the end of April, Abaco's overall visit arrivals were at 99% of the 2019 figures. So North Abaco,
Sounding good.
Central and South Abaco,
Sounding good.
your government is working for you. And we're just getting started. In short, tourism is booming, and the numbers have never been better. Yes, there was pent-up demand for travel. Yes, we benefit from our proximity to North America. However, the sustained growth that we are seeing is due to the coordinated efforts of many people in the Ministry of Tourism, Aviation, and Investments,
That's still been locked down.
and the agencies under its remit. I am grateful to Team Tourism, Director General Latia Duncombe, our stakeholders, promotion boards, hotel partners, airline partners, and the thousands of Bahamians who provide a warm and authentic experience. My colleague, John Pinder, MP for South and Central Abaco, as Parliamentary Secretary, labors in the vineyard with me. He will tell his own story, but he's a good man.
Picking grapes.
South and Central Abaco is blessed to have him. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to work with him as the Ministry of Tourism, and I hope that he will be here representing his people for decades to come. We are deeply invested in global promotions. We're deeply invested in using technology to further expand our reach. We've visited 10 cities in the USA and Canada on our global sales mission, with Atlanta and Nashville in Europe to go. We feature our creatives, Junkanoo, our arts, food, drinks, and culture. We're deploying digital innovation, led by Senior Director Andre Miller, that allows us to spread new, consistently captivating content throughout social media. We have also made accommodations in this budget for the implementation of artificial intelligence in our marketing, promotion, and data gathering efforts. We'll be exploring the integration of AI on www.bahamas.com for an enhanced user experience. We'll also be using AI to identify tourists who most likely to plan and afford a trip to the Bahamas. It will be used in strategic media efforts to engage travelers in key regions with tailored messaging and diverse channels. We believe this will improve our return on investment in advertising and give us meaningful and invaluable research on ideal markets. It will also help us to determine the best market for Bahamas Air's new direct non-stop flights. We innovate with events like Our Oceans, Our Future, an immersive digital experience with Hidden Worlds in Miami earlier this year. We expect that this will come to Bay Street. We're also planning on innovating to develop a smart city downtown. We're innovating by using technological solutions to speed up the processing of passengers at LPIA. By the way, Madam Speaker, I've heard recent complaints about the elimination of nothing to declare lines at LPIA. It's reportedly wreaking havoc and returning residents unnecessarily, and I've asked the appropriate officials to revisit this decision. Work is currently being undertaken to enhance the visitor exit surveys via the development of a digital survey to streamline the data collection and analysis process. And efforts are being made to digitize our existing paper-based immigration cards to make it easier to collect and analyze responses from visitors. We have also developed a tech tourism pitch to integrate even more technology in our overall offering. This will be a collaboration between the Tourism Development Corporation and Innovate 242 that the Minister for Grand Bahama will speak to during this debate. I am honored, though, Madam Speaker, to be able to lead the phenomenal tourism rebound, and I can talk about it for hours and hours and hours, but I only have 3 hours. So let me sum it up this way. All metrics are up. Average daily rates, up. Line of stay, up. Spending, up. Tax revenues, up. Airlift, up. And arrivals, up. Madam Speaker, one of the bills we are debating as a part of this compendium is the Tourism Development Corporation Bill. We are set to debate and pass this bill. We were set a couple months ago, but debate was delayed due to a request for broader consultation. We are a collaborative government, Madam Speaker, and we decided to allow stakeholders to give additional feedback, even though public consultation was already part of the process through the Tourism-Related Entities Council. In the spirit of bipartisanship, I shared the draft bill directly with the leader of the opposition at the beginning of April for his feedback. But as this is a money bill, I'll explain in some detail. It is pivotal, revolutionary legislation, and it is past time that we pass it into law. So while establishing the Tourism Development Corporation, this bill also establishes the Tourism Development Fund and is a key piece of legislation that will encourage the resilient and sustainable development of the tourism industry. In our blueprint for change, we promised that we would launch an aggressive mission to empower Bahamians and to create an environment where every Bahamian can thrive. This bill helps us to do just that. This is a vehicle to get comprehensive ownership in the economy for Bahamians, allowing the average Bahamian an avenue into the massive potential of the tourism industry. We've been talking about linkages to tourism for decades, and now we're doing something about it in a meaningful way. We hear over and over that Bahamians are locked out of the tourism industry, that the red carpet is laid out for foreign investors. This bill encourages foreign investment with a view to their economic benefit to harness local entrepreneurship. As they say, a rising tide floats all boats. The Tourism Development Corporation will lower the barrier to entry into the tourism industry for the average young man or young woman. And I have announced that more than $6 billion in new foreign direct investment projects have come and are in the pipeline that we approved since coming to office. We view the massive growth in foreign direct investment in the tourism space as not being for the sake of development itself or to simply enrich the developers, but to advance Bahamian empowerment. Tourism is booming, and we intend to see Bahamians carve out more of a space in this lucrative market. Before I went to cabinet, I was what you would call a serial entrepreneur. I had a fairly good eye for business, Madam Speaker. But whilst I am not invested in tourism directly, this is where I would invest today, given the massive growth and upside potential. And I would do it right now. We have the opportunity before us, not just to have investors build developments, but also to develop our own people. Legislation like this enables participation in our economy, beyond just jobs. Now let me be very clear. There is nothing wrong with having a good job. And we have created thousands of jobs so far. And we're just getting started. Good, honest work is what we encourage, and what we are trying to continue to create with the Tourism Development Corporation. Tourism is by far our biggest industry, and we must be the biggest owners of it and we need to be intentional and deliberate about this strategy. Previously, the TDC operated as a department in the Ministry of Tourism when we came to office. We are repurposing the TDC. The TDC is now focused on providing sustained support to tourism entrepreneurs, strengthening their economic viability, improving the local product to enhance the visitor experience, and ultimately growing the Bahamian economy. The TDC will be a statutory body whose remit is to develop, enhance, expand, diversify, and revitalize tourism product and experience whilst empowering Bahamians. We promise to rebuild. We promise to recover. And most importantly, South Andres, we promise to revolutionize. And this is what the TDC will do. This bill will codify the TDC to be the primary entity concerned with resilient and sustainable tourism development in the Bahamas. It also establishes a tourism development fund that would be controlled by the board of the corporation and that can be funded in numerous ways. The relaunched TDC is also designed to support the ease of doing business in the tourism industry, to facilitate opportunities for tourism entrepreneurial growth, employment, and income generation, and to spread the benefits of tourism across the economy. And though the TDC will promote domestic entrepreneurship, investment in tourism, and facilitate tourism investment, incentives, concessions, and technical assistance for Bahamians. In a nutshell, the TDC's purpose is to facilitate more and enhance Bahamian-owned tourism offerings. We often hear people say, tourism concessions are only for the foreigners. But the truth is that the concession regime is actually more favorable for Bahamians. And we will ensure that the system is designed for Bahamians to navigate it more easily. And this is for those who have an idea and aren't quite sure how to get it off the ground, or for those who have a business but can't get it to take off. Another key remit is the expansion of domestic investment in the vacation rental sector, whether by Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, or any of the digital platforms. Yes, we want more. Our industry is booming, but we need more rooms. We need more rooms. Whilst we build more hotels, this is the fastest way to expand capacity. So I call on Bahamians and residents to open your homes. Help us to solve this incredible problem whilst making money and creating wealth. Hotels are consistently at capacity, and this sector can serve as a vital supplement to accommodate guest stays. The TDC will be structured so that new ideas and ventures will flourish. TDC will be scouting for the latest trends in tourism products and services, tech tourism, in order for government to be able to accommodate and foster growth. The TDC will also have a major focus on family islands to broaden participation in tourism throughout the family islands. What we have found is that we have many, many tourism business and experiences throughout the Bahamas, yet far too few of them are in a centralized database that can be accessed by visitors, and far too few of them have been vetted by tourism officials and given an official tourism endorsement and can feature on tdcbahamas.com with links to bahamas.com. We're looking at registering micro, small, and medium-sized venture. A micro-sized venture would be one with 1 to 4 employees or 1 to 6 rooms in the establishment. A small venture would have 4 to 49 employees or 7 to 25 rooms. A medium-sized venture would have 50 to 249 employees and 26 to 75 rooms. The TDC has the ambitious task of gathering data on these tourism products, endorsing them, supporting them, and promoting them. Beyond that, these enterprises can apply for a seal of approval from the corporation. The seal would be granted in accordance with the guidelines for standards and best practice with respect to tourism-related enterprises and products to protect the integrity of the Bahamas as a tourism destination. We will support these businesses with Bahama hosts and uniquely designed training opportunities. The bill also encourages corporate social responsibility. We believe that foreign investors, while critical, should not just foster the development of our own products, but should contribute to the development of the tourism product and Bahamian enterprises as well, and we will continue to work harmoniously with them. The corporation will also provide special support to approved tourism-related entrepreneurs for growth, including for startups and early-stage tourism-related businesses in the form of physical space, coaching, and networking connections. The TDC will collaborate, partner, and liaise with any person, entity, or group, public, private, non-government organization, community, family island, or otherwise on matters it deems will support private sector business development in tourism. The corporation shall encourage networking amongst stakeholders and tourism supply chain entities to support linkages and advance tourism resilience, growth, and development. The corporation will support and advise local tourism destination management and development advisory groups in the Family Islands to advance tourism destination product development, enhancement, and preservation in our Family Islands. Not only would the fund receive money from contributions from certain tourism-related entities, but it can also be funded through this budget, the Tourism Development Levy, income from the investments of the corporation, and grants from multilateral agencies. Madam Speaker, the bottom line is we have reformatted the TDC to create entrepreneurs and to grow entrepreneurs. And while we are still growing tourism, we have not been able to maximize visitor spend in the local economy and keep more of that spend at home. Again, jobs are good, but we also want to create ownership and wealth. Yes. The TDC will be a place where entrepreneurs can register their business and activities so we can direct the traffic to them from platforms like Bahamas.com. And if you have an idea but lack capital, the TDC will work with you on your business plan. It will provide some startup grants and work with entrepreneurs to bring their ideas to fruition. And once the business is created, we will have a website that will encourage entrepreneurs to develop apps, that tourism can access, that will allow them to see the products and services offered and put them in touch with these businesses. I want to emphasize that this bill does not compete with the existing agencies. Through working with the SPDC, the Bahamas Development Bank, and the Bahamas Venture Capital Fund, the TDC will drive Bahamian ownership. The TDC will provide technical support in touristic ventures, reducing the risk of financing and improving the chances of success. The TDC will also create a registry for displaced Bahamian executives. The TDC will also create a registry for displaced Bahamian hotel and tourism executives. With the existing significant tourism experience, given the massive growth in tourism that we are seeing, we need all hands on deck. We need more focused approach to empowering Bahamians to break the proverbial glass ceiling and manage resorts And this will be a go-to source for hotels and new investors to seek the skilled professionals they need inside the Bahamas. Yes. We're not doing a good enough job, in my view, yes, in advancing Bahamian professionals in tourism. Yes. And this effort and collaboration with stakeholders will hopefully address this vexing issue. In the work of the TDC, we are seeking support from the IDB and other multilateral agencies, as I mentioned, with providing some support for our work. And we have already received a commitment of support from the Saudi Fund for Development, which I will explain more momentarily. But one of the major reasons we miss out on visitor spend, as I have repeatedly indicated, is a lack of things to do and not enough authentically Bahamian experiences. We met with cruise lines, we met with hotel stakeholders to determine what tours they need, and we will continue this dialogue. And one of the major impediments to tours and activities not being supported by the cruise lines, one of those issues is access to insurance. What the TDC did was to develop a blanket insurance program to ensure access by small operators who would not typically be able to afford $1 to $2 million of public liability insurance coverage. The new structure and abilities of the TDC puts us firmly on the right track to empower Bahamians and enhance our tourism product. This is truly powerful and transformative legislation, Madam Speaker, and we are exceedingly proud of it. Madam Speaker, I told you earlier that I had little time during this presentation to entertain some of the more short-sighted and sometimes childish notions of the other side. However, I must say
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
that I find the member for Kalani, who is thankfully no longer Prime Minister.
Amen. I'll clap that up.
His consistent focusing on the Prime Minister's travel is absolutely absurd. I know when the Prime Minister is gone because whenever I am here and the Prime Minister leaves the country, I act in his stead. The member of Kalani might not notice, since assuming his authoritarian position of competent authority for so long, he's perhaps forgotten how the system works. But the acting Prime Minister consistently briefs the Prime Minister on what is occurring, as do other members of Cabinet. And does the member of Kalani in the opposition imagine the Prime Minister leaves and completely checks out from governance? Does the member for Kalani in the opposition think the Prime Minister of the Bahamas stops being Prime Minister of the Bahamas because he has temporarily left the Bahamas? It makes absolutely no sense, especially in the world of modern technology. And further, this Prime Minister has had a far greater local impact than the former Prime Minister ever did. There is nowhere in the Bahamas he has not been. That's right. He spent the entire day with me in Forbes Hill to open the cultural village a few months ago. Yeah. The first Prime Minister in history to spend quality time in this small community. Wow. We're demonstrating our commitment to the Family Islands. Yes. Yes. He just headed a conference with the Vice President of the United States. Let me repeat that. Wow. The Vice President of the United States. As the chair of CARICOM. And then he went to Jamaica to chair a meeting there in that role about Haiti. Yeah. And then he flew to check on Exuma when I was in California, calling the film industry. Yeah. And then went back to finish chair the meeting with CARICOM. Wow, working. And then I saw him giving out medals to the young athletes at the National Youth Swim Championship last weekend. You see, the member for Kalani only wishes he could have the impact our Prime Minister has had at home and abroad. You know, I understand he only wishes he had the energy of our Prime Minister.
That's what it is.
And further, the Bahamas is not the world. This is important work, Madam Speaker.
This ain't no play thing.
Our Prime Minister has commanded global respect. He has carved out our place as a serious player in discussions on climate change and its impact on small island developing states. So much so that we have had, as I've mentioned before, an official visit from the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris as the highest ranking U.S. official to do so in the history of the independent Bahamas. That's right, Central Grand Bahama. That's right.
That's right.
Prime Minister Davis sits at the table. He doesn't wait around in the hallways
No.
like schoolboys waiting to be called into the principal's office.
Have a glass of water.
So if you want global attention,
Looking at the wall, man.
the good kind,
Shame.
you must go into the world.
That was our country.
The money is out there,
Can't go
and we need it to come here, whether in tourism, investment, trade, or green climate funds. This is not at all difficult to understand in my view, Madam Speaker. Before I got into politics, I traveled the world at my own expense.
Exactly. People can travel.
I was in business, and I needed to make global connections. I had to go where they were to let them know that I was in business, and I wanted to do business with them. This ain't new, South and Central Lutra. And then they came here to explore those opportunities and to continue to build those relationships.
Yes.
This was the cost of doing business,
Yep.
and it brought me incredible success.
Yes.
And I hope you know, I hope you know, I hope you know,
I hope you know.
as Minister of Tourism, Investment and Aviation,
Yes.
I've been all over the world on behalf of the Bahamas too.
That's right.
Jet Blue coming.
And if I had more time,
Yes.
I would have gone farther.
More.
And I plan to keep going.
Go at BPS.
And just like the Prime Minister can show the fruits of his travel,
Stop you.
I can show the dividends that pay off when we go out to the world on behalf of the Bahamian people. Because this PLP government is working for you, and we're just getting started.
Just result.
Madam Speaker,
All these ministries.
I am pleased to announce that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas have agreed a loan facility to fund the Tourism Development Corporation's business incubation centers.
Wow.
The $10 million loan has been secured from the Saudi Development Fund as a result of our travels.
Yes.
It's been secured on extremely favorable terms, including a 5-year delay on any principal repayments.
Wow.
The money will be deposited in the Tourism Development Fund and will help to build incubation centers in the first phase in Nassau, Grand Bahama, and Exuma. But I want to tell you that phase 2 includes Eleuthera and Abaco too. The Bahamas Incubation Center projects seek to accelerate local economic development and increase entrepreneurial opportunities in the tourism sector by providing young, fledgling businesses with the necessary support and resources to assist them in developing sustainable, profitable businesses. Our research has shown that this initiative can have a vital impact on the economy by creating new entrepreneurs in our main industry. So we ain't just talking the talk, you know? We're walking the walk. Incubation centers also hope to capitalize on entertainment and cultural tourism and will highlight Bahamian cultural through experiences, through visual arts, music and dance, theater, and junk canoe, supporting the orange economy. A portion of the loan will also be used to fund grants and small loans from the TDC to entrepreneurs on every island across the Bahamas. Including Andros. And Barry Islands.
I'm clapping.
And Bimini. Madam Speaker, we are extremely proud of the work that we are doing. We must encourage cottage industry and micro business. We must aspire for micro businesses to become mid-sized businesses, and mid-sized businesses to become large businesses, and large businesses to become regional and international businesses. The TDC will do its part. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation entered into a memorandum of understanding with Saudi Arabia in December 2022 to create a unified strategy to share mutual tourism investment opportunities alongside day-to-day expertise in initiatives like sustainable tourism practices, management of tourism facilities, and the sharing of insight data and best practices. This demonstrates, Madam Speaker, the benefits of going into the world. Yes. We don't just travel for fun, you see. No. We travel to get things done. Yes. In fact, Madam Speaker, I'm traveling to Qatar next month in the spirit of ongoing building of strategic relationships. Yes. We will travel along with a small team to execute a memorandum of understanding on tourism. We'll sign an MOU on aviation. We'll discuss cooperation and technical assistance with Qatar Airways as it relates to the Bahamas. We'll garner support for the Bahamas Aeronautical Academy. We'll garner support for building capacity for airspace management. We'll garner further support for NASA as a hub for non-stop flights from the Middle East, for multi-destination Caribbean travel. And we're having a similar conversation with Emirates, by the way. We will get support on this mission to Qatar for GBIA as a logistics hub for air cargo for the Caribbean, Latin America, and the region. We get support for foreign direct investments in the Bahamas with a focus on aviation and renewable energy.
Yes. Yep.
Madam Speaker, consecutive administrations have talked a lot about Bahamas Invest, a proactive Department of Investments to promote, manage, and attract foreign direct investments. The new construct will formalize a promotions unit, a compliance unit, and a facilitations unit. Further, I've indicated before, it is often said that domestic investors, although entitled to the same and more concessions, are treated with the same level of seriousness, must be treated with the same level of seriousness as foreign investors. So as we committed in our blueprint for change, we will refocus the Bahamas Investment Authority as a more nimble promotional arm. Bahamas Invest will focus on attracting investments in industry across all sectors, as we are committed to do in our blueprint for change. We will enhance Bahamas Invest to fast-track and promote a new model of FDI and domestic investments. The compliance unit will ensure that international investors comply with all of their obligations under statute and heads of agreements. And we will expand the role of Bahamas Invest to include a domestic facilitations unit to support Bahamian businesses in participating more fully in the tourism value chain. Madam Speaker, the Director of Investments, Mrs. Felicia Hanna, has already started this work in earnest in regard to this transition, working along with McKinsey consultants to deploy global best practices. I say a special thank you to Director Hanna and the small but powerful team of BIA. We intend to create the conditions necessary to achieve the equivalent of being ranked top 50 in the world in competitiveness. The Ministry of Finance has pledged its support for the business plan for this initiative. We have pledged this before in at least 3 speeches from the throne, Madam Speaker. And therefore, during this fiscal year, we intend to stand up Bahamas Invest. Madam Speaker, we now have a world-class, brand-new cruise port at the Port of Nassau. It is a stunning achievement that we are happy to have at our most popular entryway. The Nassau Cruise Port is owned 49% by Bahamian investors and 2% by the Yes Foundation for the benefit of the Bahamian people. It is the home to many new Bahamian entrepreneurs with authentically Bahamian products. However, just outside the port is the disappointment that is downtown Nassau. We will, under no circumstances, allow Bay Street to remain in the state that it has languished in for decades. The poor state of our capital city center is even more glaring now that the port is there. And I am delighted to tell you that Senator the Honorable Randy Rule has been assigned full-time to monitor downtown upgrades. We are working with the Downtown Nassau Partnership to create and to execute an overall plan for downtown. We've already begun stakeholder engagement. We've devised a plan with quick wins and wins with a short, medium, and long-term horizon. And right now, with the help of the Commissioner of Police, we're seeing greater police presence that we hope will be consistently visible. We're working on a clean, safe environment downtown. I want to be very clear about this. Drug peddlers, hackers, hagglers, prostitutes, harassers, thieves, and troublemakers are not welcome downtown. They are, in fact, not welcome anywhere, Madam Speaker. But there will certainly be a zero tolerance downtown, and the mission of the police is to remove them. Please understand. Don't seek to complain to me or anyone in this administration about it. You've been warned, and it has to be done. With 30,000 visitors per day, there are enough ways to make an honest living in a manner that adds value, and we will support you in doing so. We're working with the Ministry of Health, the police, the Department of Social Services to manage vagrancy. We are sensitive to the plight of the mentally ill and those who suffer from addiction. And with the recently passed Mental Health Act, we will manage this issue compassionately. We will ensure that vagrants receive the care they need, and they will not receive that care wandering about and sleeping on the streets or derelict buildings. We can do better as a country to support our vulnerable, and we will. We're working with the Department of Environmental Health Services to manage rodents as well. So those big pets we sometimes see running around on Bay Street are no longer welcomed. No. We've allocated $1 million in this budget for downtown beautification. Yes. And from this, we expect tangible, visible results. Yes. Yes. Quickly. The Tourism Development Levy will help tremendously. Yes. You know, the $2 the opposition is complaining about? It will go a long way. Go a long way. You see? You see? They complained about Bay Street for decades.
They complained about $2 they will be paid.
Exactly.
They're chronic complainers and talkers, you know. They complain about the state of downtown.
They fill their role properly.
They complain about the $2. And they were in government for 20 of the last 30 years
Wow.
and watched the long decay of Bay Street
Did nothing.
and did very little about it.
No idea.
We are committed to doing something about it, Madam Speaker. 9 buildings have been identified for demolition downtown, and notices have been given. And I want to say a special thank you to the Honorable, hard-working Minister of Public Works. We expect more demolitions to begin this year in August. We'll triple the number of garbage cans downtown and have more timely power washdowns. There are some small, quick, low-hanging fruits that we can and we will do. We'll also revamp platters and benches and place new signage in downtown. We will be encouraging storefront competitions and native shows in Pompey Square and Rawson Square. And I have reliably advised that Gumby Summer is coming back to Bay Street this summer. There will be more tourism ambassadors providing information and support.
Yes.
There'll be more Bahamas host training for police and vendors. And we will develop a system for short-term parking. We'll ultimately have better experiences and more Instagrammable opportunities. We want to create a pedestrianized market slope just beside the Nassau Straw Market for more vendor spots. I'll be soliciting the support of my colleagues on that. And we plan to have more pedestrianized side streets downtown to showcase local music, art, culture, and vendors. We intend to propose and consider also looking at the Prince George Wharf closing to regular traffic during certain hours of the day, so long as my colleague for transport supports. This will be a first step in the fully pedestrianized wharf. We plan to beautify the Churchill building space, which will mean even more potential green space and potential vendor opportunities in the short term until we establish a more permanent plan for this historic site. We will encourage investment in clubs and restaurants, entertainment and residences.
Yes.
Everyone has complained about the state of downtown.
Yes.
Yep.
Now is the time for everyone to do what we can to help.
And don't oppose.
Of course, the Nassau Cruise Port can serve as a catalyst
You're the leader, you know.
that will keep this going.
You're the active leader.
Nassau Cruise Port has committed in its heads of agreement to providing $8 million for the enhancement of downtown within 12 months after completion. Given the urgency of this need to improve, we hope to begin the drawdown of this $8 million sooner rather than later. The more than 30,000 passengers a day coming into the port means that there is enough for downtown, enough for RCI Beach Club, and for other areas east and west, enough for everyone. And for years, we have heard a great deal of discussion surrounding the regeneration and full revitalization of Bay Street. And we're doing something about it. This, of course, never materialized, resulting in the steady decline of business operations, even before the unprecedented COVID-19 global pandemic. The steady decline in business and closures, coupled with a struggling tourism product, has crippled commerce in the area, creating dead zones, notably in the eastern portion of downtown. It is important to note that we want and need this to be our plan. We will continue to engage with stakeholders. We will continue the incentives under the Downtown Revitalization Act, the Downtown Revitalization Act. And we want your feedback and your best ideas. And we invite you to email them to downtown@bahamas.com. We want your feedback. St. Barnabas, we want your best ideas. And we invite you.
Apply for bread basket. Yeah. Don't say open bread basket shop down.
we invite you to email them to downtown@bahamas.com. Downtown@bahamas.com.
But since you're here, you can,
Madam Speaker, in a very deliberate effort to fortify our position as the premier tourism destination within the Caribbean, the TDC of the Bahamas, as I've mentioned before, will launch its incubation centers downtown, converting what would be considered cost-prohibitive spaces in the downtown area into affordable shared spaces, while providing a range of hand-holding technical support and resources to micro and small-size enterprises. The Bahamas Tourism Incubation Centers will be established and positioned east of E Street. The main facility, which we have already secured, will be located on Bay Street, just east of the exit of the Nassau Cruise Port, i.e. the old exit of the Nassau Cruise Port, just east of E Street. Small existing spaces have been identified for the project on both the northern and southern side of Bay Street, beginning just east of Rawson Square, at Bay Street and East Street, and as far down as Christie Avenue. These smaller units will act as additional hubs for the incubator program with tour operators and authentically Bahamian products, and will also feature Bahamian artists. The incubation project was conceptualized with three main objectives in mind: to restore a rapidly declining commerce hub, to facilitate economic growth, and to enhance green space opportunities and the overall visitor experience. It will serve as the instrument which underpins the long-awaited revitalization and rejuvenation of downtown Nassau, with a keen focus, as I mentioned before, on the eastern portion. Dilapidated and derelict buildings, as I mentioned before, if not demolished, will be transformed, hopefully with the stakeholders involved, into attractive storefronts and entertainment centers, restoring the charm and beauty of Bay Street, but more importantly, its functionality as the commerce hub of the capital. Closely tied to the incubator initiative is the Downtown Mural and Art Project, an essential component that seeks to transform and beautify the area to create more aesthetically pleasing surroundings for our visitors and Bahamians. The beautification of the eastern downtown area in particular is of critical importance to the incubation ecosystem. This Downtown Mural Project will be in collaboration with organizations such as UB, the National Art Gallery, His Excellency Jamal Roll, Cultural Ambassador, and the creative community as a whole, to ensure at least 1 mile of murals is erected to show the history of the country in a mini art district that will be there to boost the orange economy and to harness the new look and feel of downtown. We're tired of complaining about it, so we're doing something about it.
just results.
With the thousands of cruise passengers and stopovers traversing the area, the incubator seeks to provide a reasonable solution to the frequented narrative of a lack of unique activities, experiences, products, and services being offered to our guests. Thus, the incubation ecosystem is designed to bring together, as I've mentioned before, the best local entrepreneurs with unique, immersive experiences, as well as retail crafts and products. The concept is for businesses to start in the main business touristic center, rent-free for 6 months, and then they grow and move out into their own storefront. We also have a plan for the western portion of downtown. It is estimated that 8,000 to 10,000 persons per day walk to Junkanoo Beach. Listen to that. 8,000 to 10,000 people per day walk to Junkanoo Beach. It is our intent to create an onshore beach experience for those persons. We've completed the survey of the area, and it will be zoned into an orderly, well-designed cultural village. We have designs for the stalls, and we are looking at 12 additional new stalls at Junkanoo Beach. Construction is expected to begin this summer, subject to the implementation of much-needed infrastructure by the Ministry of Works and the Water and Sewerage Corporation. This is going to be a significant collaboration between our ministry and the Ministry of Public Works. Madam Speaker, a critical component of our airlift strategy in the ministry is Bahamas Air. If you would note, we have modestly reduced the subvention for Bahamas Air this year by several million in this budget. We have placed a great deal of focus on new international routes: Tampa, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Nashville, nonstop to Freeport and onward to Nassau. We have also returned Bahamas Air seasonal flights between Freeport and Orlando and added a new route from Freeport to Raleigh, Durham, and hopefully we will add another flight from Fort Lauderdale to Georgetown, Exuma. These international flights bring tourists who spend more and maximize the economic benefit of a $20 million plus subvention, or what I call investment, in Bahamas Air, our national fly carry, per annum. To accommodate this, Bahamas Air has upgraded its fleet and continued to do so. It purchased one additional 737-700 next-generation aircraft at the end of May 2023, which is expected to be delivered and in service by this year, August. This acquisition will allow for more added routes and an additional 148 extra seats. We expect Bahamas Air's revenue to grow as a result over the next year by as much as $8 million. And we will make the case again for re-examining the level of taxpayer support needed in the medium to long term for Bahamas Air. You see, when we came to office, financial reporting of Bahamas Air was unacceptably in arrears. The airline has since successfully completed the 2020 financials and provided the 2021 and 2022 trial balances to external auditors. Bahamas Air expects to be fully up to date with their financial statements by December 2023. Now, this is significant because this will allow for the refinancing of the airline's existing aircraft loan to reduce from the present 13% interest rate for what we are hoping will create millions of dollars of savings. I want to say a special thank you to the chairman of Bahamas Air, a prolific chartered accountant, Mr. Anthony Kiki Verakas, and his entire board for their stellar work at Bahamas Air. The payoff and rewriting of loan commitments will also allow management to apply for more capital funding to assist in the acquisition of another aircraft in the upcoming fiscal year. Meantime, management will continue to move the airline towards a cashless environment. Bahamas is currently cashless in the U.S., Turks and Caicos, and at LPIA. In conjunction with the Bank of the Bahamas and other facilitators, Bahamas Air expects to implement the use of the central bank-sponsored Sand Dollar digital currency and wallet. Bahamas Air expects to add cargo services to Haiti and Cuba and other destinations during summer of 2023, which will all operate at night when the equipment usually sits idle. We're being innovative at Bahamas Air, Madam Speaker. Bahamas Air presently has several key airlines as interline partners, including Delta, Copa, British Airways, United, and others to be announced soon. And for the upcoming fiscal year, Bahamas is targeting 10 additional airlines for code-share interline agreements to create seamless travel throughout the world. You see the significance of this? The significance of this, Madam Speaker, is if you check your bag in Brazil and you're traveling on Copa, and you headed to North Eleuthera, you need not see or touch that bag again until it gets to North Eleuthera. That's the significance of this great work that Bahamas Air is doing. Madam Speaker, on June 18th, Bahamas Air celebrated 50 years of existence and service. And again, I want to congratulate Bahamas Air on this achievement. The airline started in 1973 under a PLP government, I might add. I congratulate Bahamas Air on behalf of the government and the people of the Bahamas. I say a special thank you to the board, the management, the staff, and the retirees for their dedication. And while the airline has had some financial turbulence, its record of safety and reliability is stellar, and it still stands today. And therefore, our pilots and the entire team are deserving of commendations. I reiterate that we must not only assess the value of Bahamas Air in terms of tax dollars invested, but we must also consider it overall economic benefit to the economy and its contribution to the country in terms of the number of visitors it brings and how that spending impacts our GDP. As I noted earlier, we're developing an important partnership with Qatar Airways. I will say more on this soon. But Qatar Airways is one of the most successful airlines in the world, and we'll work with them on new routes, on cargo, on technical assistance, and getting more value out of our national investment. At Bahamas Air, we're just getting started. Madam Speaker, the Bahamas this year developed what I believe is the first ever national aviation strategic plan, comprehensive. Thanks to the good work of Dr. Kenneth Romer, Director of Aviation, and the entire aviation sector. For this major effort. As an archipelago, we rely heavily on aviation for our very way of life. Stakeholders will meet in conclave on June 29th, ahead of the national launch. The first ever Bahamas National Aviation Week, I believe, will take place in October with local activities. It will also include the Air Traffic Control International Conference. The purpose of the Bahamas National Aviation Strategic Plan is to outline the direction that the aviation community will take over the next 3 years to seize opportunities and revolutionize the aviation sector to meet and exceed global standards. This aviation strategic plan will focus on a systematic and pragmatic process of execution with contributions from key stakeholders and entities. So this ain't just our plan. This is a plan that we hope that our stakeholders will continue to contribute to and to deliver. Madam Speaker, as our tourism product rebounds, we're looking at ways to reimagine our tourism industry. We're looking at various avenues, such as partnering with the American TV and film industry. We are putting ourselves in a position to bring major shows and networks to the Bahamas to produce. As a matter of fact, I am reliably advised that this coming January, the Trumpet Awards will take place in the Bahamas. Excellent. Produced in the Bahamas. There's a great interest in film and TV and movie production. I recently had several productive discussions in California with Netflix and others, and before this in Atlanta and Canada, which we will continue to work on, and we will elaborate on all of this in due course. We will continue to nurture this interest, and now with the non-stop flight direct from LA on JetBlue, we are opening a new tourism office and a new Bahamas Film Commission office in Los Angeles, California, this year. Shame. We're doing something about it, Madam Speaker. We're also cultivating deeper investment in sustainable tourism, flat fishing, and Bahamian-owned resorts. We're developing a new strategic plan, Reimagining Tourism 2030, that we will soon solicit feedback from our stakeholders and ultimately share with the public. Madam Speaker, I just want to touch briefly on Grand Bahama in matters falling within my remit, but I know the Minister will give a full update during her presentation. As the nation would have heard, we have signed a deal for the Grand Bahama International Airport, and we will see the attractiveness of the destination as an investment proposition. We will see it grow dramatically. We expect that the timelines for completion will be met, despite some extensive preliminary work, including legal work that's currently being done. And I am pleased to say that the work is consistently underway. And very soon this work would be visible with the beginning of the demolition of the many eyesores at GBIA. There is continuing interest in the Grand Lucayan Resort, but as I stated earlier this year, we will make an announcement only when we have complete certainty. It means that when money for the purchase of the hotel is in escrow, we will make an announcement. We are hopeful that this will happen soon. There are several issues with Grand Bahama, one of them being that there is not enough organic growth. And as we dramatically increase cruise and visitors airlift, we need an environment where there is economic growth generation to the point that opportunities for more business and employment is a natural offshoot. So the Ministry of Tourism and the TDC will do their part. But yes, we are hopeful for Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama, we are working for you, and we are just getting started. And to my beloved people of Ragged Island, I want you to know that I will never forget you. I will never abandon you. I will never leave you or forsake you. I remember the shoddy treatment you received pre and post Irma, and you have my word that under this PLP government, we will never do you like that. We have a new school being completed, hopefully in time for opening in September. Yes. With the clinic shortly thereafter. We're investing in ecotourism, and we are looking at positioning the island as a commercial fishing hub. The TDC and the SBDC will be called upon to support these residents. We will, as promised, be erecting a monument for those who died in the HMBS Flamingo tragedy. And the survivors, including those who were terrorized on Ragged Island during that ordeal. Madam Speaker, I would not be in this house today if it were not for my beloved Exuma. I'm extremely grateful, and I promise Exuma to continue to serve you with diligence. And Exuma, I want you to know that your MP is working for you.
Working hard.
Aside from the overall picture of economic health in Exuma, which is fantastic, much has been done, and there is still much more to be done. A few months ago, we launched the Forbes Hill Cultural Village to much success. And I want you to know I am extremely proud of this initiative. I want to let Exuma and the people of Forbes Hill know that Phase 2 is set to begin in the fourth quarter of this year. Additionally, the Tourism Development Corporation is on track to begin the incubation center for small business in Exuma by the fourth quarter of this year. We're also going to start construction in our community center in Georgetown in early 2024. The people of Exuma have also been quite patient while waiting for the continuation of construction of the new International Airport Terminal. The last PLP administration did tremendous work and left those plans in place for a new international airport. But then a new administration came along and they decided to tinker with it. And this is what we have. They selected a contractor and then did not properly execute the funding, running up a $10 million debt with the contractor. Madam Speaker, I would need another 39 minutes to explain how difficult it was to unravel that mess. But I can report that this PLP administration has secured funding and work on the land side of the International Airport in Georgetown has already begun, thanks to the oversight of the Honorable Minister for Public Works. Meantime, we will continue to push forward, and we will continue to deliver a progressive plan to climax with creation of Exuma, hopefully as a hub, generally for Bahamas Air and other airlines, hopefully by late 2025. I will have more to say about that in due course. But Black Point, Daniel Key and Farmers Key, I can tell you that as a part of the Family Island Airport Renaissance Program, you are getting your new airports.
Yes.
You're getting your new clinics too.
Yes.
Daniel Key, your school should be almost complete.
Yes.
And it will be open just in time for school to resume in September. And I want to say a special thank you to my colleague, the Honorable Member from Engliston, the Honorable Minister of Education.
Yes.
I want to let Exumians know that I've heard the complaints of unfair illegal competition from foreign charter operating locally. And I know my colleague from Transport will have a lot more to say about this. In fact, this is addressed in the raft of legislation we are currently debating. I've also heard complaints of foreign vacation rental owners competing with local rental car companies on Exuma.
Yes.
And we're doing something about it.
Yes.
Yep.
As environmentally charming as Exuma is, we have to always maintain that which God has given us. And to that end, we will be relaunching Exuma Pride, our local beautification effort to enhance Exuma and to keep it clean. I'm also advocating generally to rename the Elizabeth Harbor to the Raleigh Gray Harbor. Yes. And I'll continue to push for that.
I'll take the trophy in the
And given that I stand as the national sailing champion of the ministers' race, I'm sure that my colleague, the Minister for Regattas,
Yeah, that's why they got me.
will support this initiative diligently.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Indeed, if we can get sailing made the national sport of the Bahamas, I'm sure my colleagues will be convinced when they hear such sound reasoning. I'm also continuing to push for more money for local government. I hear your complaint, and I want to thank the Minister for Family Island Affairs for having made an effort in this regard. The new Family Island Development Fund is a good start, but we must continue to move in the direction of more robustly funded development in the Family Islands.
Yes.
We will shortly be launching Crime Stoppers on Exuma to make it even more safer. We're progressing nicely with the 45 miles of new smooth asphalt roads being built, we will ensure that many of the side roads, including the Boulevard Road, will be completed in due course. I want to tell my family and friends in Little Exuma that a water contract has been signed and supplies are already on the island, and we expect that work on implementing potable water in my hometown, Little Exuma, will begin shortly. The water contracts for Barrett Harry and Georgetown have also been signed and works are being scheduled. I want to say a special thank you to the chairman of the Water and Sewage Corporation, my colleague from North Eleuthera. Madam Speaker, it pleases me also to report that we have $1.5 billion in new foreign direct investment approved for Exuma since coming to office. This and the intense popularity of Exuma as a tourist destination means that we have essentially full employment on the island of Exuma. Our issue is filling the jobs we got. So if you are in Exuma, if you are a descendant of Exuma, and you're looking for work, or if you wish to reside in Exuma, we ask you to come home.
Make Exuma your home.
And we ask you to contact Tim Cooper's office and register with our job bank to see how we might facilitate. We've also been reliably advised that BTVI is coming to Exuma soon, as well as our primary school in Georgetown, as announced already by my colleague, the Minister for Education. The skills honed by BTVI will be much needed in Exuma for the successful execution of the projects in the pipeline. So I urge you, Exuma, to avail yourselves of all of these opportunities. There's, of course, no situation that is perfect, not even in Exuma. And one of my biggest challenges, and admittedly my biggest disappointment on Exuma, is the mini hospital. It is simply not where it needs to be. In Exuma, we hear your cry. It's not useful enough to the people of Exuma and her guests. And I am in active dialogue with the Honorable Minister of Health to advance this. And I ask your forbearance as we work on improving the delivery of service of this healthcare facility. Finally, I thank the team on the ground in Exuma who responded promptly to the recent flooding, along with Prime Minister Davis and my cabinet colleagues. I say a special thank you to them for their visit. Special thanks to RBDF, the Defense Force, to NEMA, the Ministry of Works, local government, and Island Administrators Roll and Anderson, as well as the entire local government council. We feel the pain of those residents impacted, and I assure you that we will continue the relief and the mitigation until the job is done. Yes. And let me end my remarks for Exuma on a good note. I'm delighted to announce that Fidelity Bank is coming to Exuma in the next few months. Wow. This will be an innovative model of banking, working alongside existing money service providers. And as I promised the residents in Long Island, they will get a similar solution once this pilot in Exuma is up and running. But you will be serviced in the interim from the Exuma branch. All of us who represent family islands understand the extreme challenges that have arisen as banks have continued to leave the family islands. So we will start in Exuma. I got to look out for Long Island too. And then hopefully this process will progress to all other family islands that face this vexing issue. This continues to be a major concern for our administration. And we're endeavoring to work with financial service providers to ensure this vexing issue is resolved. All Bahamians on all islands deserve access to banking. Yes. And it's not something that we can simply let the market sort out. No. We must, and we will be deliberate and intentional on this issue. So Exuma and Ragged Island, I love you dearly. I thank you for sending me back here for the second consecutive term. And I'm working for you daily, and I want you to know we're just getting started. Yes. This budget and the accompanying legislation, Madam Speaker, has my full and absolute support. This budget and the accompanying legislation have my full and absolute support, 100%. Madam Speaker. And I commend the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Prime Minister, the Minister of Economic Affairs, the Financial Secretary and their entire teams for the work that they have put in to this year's fiscal budget. This will set us on a path of fiscal prudency. It will solidify our foundation for continued growth and development. It will put in place the facilities and the funding needed to continue the great work of this progressive Liberal Party administration. To Exuma and Ragged Island, people across the length and breadth of the Bahamas, I want you to know that your government is working for you. And we are just getting started. May God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Member Asmini. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Central and South Abaco.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As always, I'm humbly honored to stand here in this great house and represent the good people of Central and South Abaco. It is my voice that echoes from their settlements. I am here to relay what's on their minds, what I can do for my constituency and the greater Bahamas. I'm thankful to the Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, for allowing me to serve in the Ministry of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation. His guidance has been some of the best teachings I've had in my life. And I am more thankful that I can sit in that ministry under the Deputy Prime Minister, I. Chester Cooper. His insight on business and what should be done in that ministry it's a daily education for me. I believe with leaders such as these that our country can go far, very far. The Deputy Prime Minister is taking the Ministry of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation to another level. I call it Tourism 2.0.
Okay, all right.
But I'd like to say that of all the roles that I've had in my young life, being a father is my utmost joy. Madam Speaker, I'm thankful to all the fathers out there and all the father figures that are helping to shape our next generation. Madam Speaker, we're almost 50 years old. We are a young nation, a nation with great potential and far to go. But the youth are our most important resource because it's on their shoulders that this nation will grow. It's on their shoulders that the next 50 years will be better than the 50 before. Their intellectual and physical strength is proven daily. Worldwide, we see our fellow Bahamians across the world doing great things in different companies, in different places of education, different sporting arenas, making the Bahamas stand out on a national level. The youth are our most important resource. I thank the many invitations that I had from the schools in my constituency. I am proud to see the graduates of Central and South Abaco take the next step in their life. I am supportive of the continuing studies of all the rest of the grades as they pursue their lower academic levels and moving towards whatever their desire may be. Every youth has a different attribute, a different strength. One may be good in math, one may be good in writing or poetry, another may be good with their hands. They may be the engineers and the builders of the future. This leads me into thanking the good member from Eggleston for putting the BTVI campus in Abaco. We recently signed the groundbreaking on that. I'm told it shouldn't take too long considering we're using an existing building, but the BTVI campus in Abaco is groundbreaking. That is revolutionary. See, growing up in the Family Islands, you not always have the opportunities you would have growing up in New Providence. You don't have the technical teachers to show you that a career in electrical engineering or air conditioning or carpentry and whatnot can be the most lucrative careers that you could find. That a career in fashion design could be lucrative careers that you could find. Those opportunities are lost. With BTVI in Abaco, I am certain that the young Abaconians and older ones alike will be able to obtain the skill sets necessary to achieve higher paying careers. For far too long, the Bahamians sit at the bottom of the construction heap. They should be the skilled laborers, the ones making the real money off of our foreign investments, our tourism infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So I'm thankful again. Before I go any further, I would be remiss, and I would not be able to travel back home without some choice words from the people that put me here. BPL. Power has been absolutely a disgrace in Abaco. BPL needs to decentralize their management and give more authority to the general managers in the islands. Not only more authority, more human capital, and more financial resources. This past months now, but I'll speak about this past week, our power has been on less than a quarter, less than 30% of the time. Our islands are packed. We have tourism budding, demand is high. Yet the power is not only not steady and off, but when it comes on, it comes right back off immediately. Food is being spoiled. Appliances are being lost. Revenue is being lost. The revenue from our tourism economy is being lost. In the Bahamas, it may be 70-odd% of our economy. In Abaco, it is everything. Every dollar coming from there. And this is from years of F&M neglect. The lines running up on the shores of the islands on Honeycomb.
Let's get it right.
It was okay when he was saying it now. Let me tell you, I go. Trust him, he lives there, he knows. Trust him.
Years.
He lived there.
Years of neglect.
Yes.
We telling
I
you what
call
he has to
for
do.
decentralization, but first, immediate remediation of and help in those islands. Give Mr. Green, give the general manager the tools necessary to make it happen. But don't get me wrong, I applaud every BPL member on the ground in Abaco. They work day and night to resolve these issues, day and night. Without them, we would still not have power today. Furthermore, I think it's time we explore partnerships with other entities to make BPL stronger nationwide. We are an archipelago spread over 100,000 square miles and dozens and dozens and dozens of communities that need reliable power. So this is something Central and South Abaco I'm going to be pushing for. I will not stop, and I've had multiple meetings with the chairman of BPL. I'm in constant contact with BPL Abaco on the ground, and I will continue to voice your concerns in Abaco. But let me speak more on Abaco and those communities later on the budget. Madam Speaker, I just had to get that off of the chest of Central and South Abaco, considering I haven't had a good sleep in about a week's time now. It was unsure if I was going to have a shower this morning to come into this great house, but I was coming nonetheless.
Yep.
So, tourism 2.0. Tourism 2.0. Tourism in the Bahamas is growing exponentially. Yes, we had a bump and a little help from the pent-up demand from COVID, but not that much. Not what the numbers that you see today.
Stay focused, man.
I am thankful for the tourism technical staff within the ministry, from the
You gotta get it right.
from the Director General to the Deputy Director General, Director of Aviation, Director of Investments, all the way down to those in each of the BTOs throughout the Family Islands. They are exceptional, and they should be given a round of applause. Madam Speaker, there's a few sectors within tourism that I am blessed to have, to be able to work alongside with the Deputy Prime Minister and to have some real say on those directions and where we should go and so on and so forth. I come from the hospitality industry. I've been in it all my life. From 9 years old, I started washing dishes, and I worked my way up throughout marinas, resorts, restaurants in multiple different countries. So I have some inside knowledge on where the revenue is generated from and where we should go. So I'm thankful to the Deputy Prime Minister for allowing me to voice that and to put some of that knowledge to good work for the Bahamian people across our nation. But I am most thankful to see our numbers continue to climb. Private aircraft, one of our most lucrative stopover visitors. They fly to almost all of our 30-plus airstrips across this this great nation. And they bring in a significant portion of revenue. And they fly in, they come in, they rent houses, they stay at hotels, they bring friends, they rent boats, they take charters, they go out with their local guides. They're spending money in our economy. Madam Speaker, private aircraft arrivals have increased by over 35% from 2021 to 2022. This year is looking even better. I'm sure we will eclipse those numbers by double digits. Private aircraft is extremely important. We've been out speaking with the community at large throughout the United States and some of the biggest events that that private aircraft have. Oshkosh, Sun and Fun. Sun and Fun has thousands of aircraft on ground and tens of thousands of people. A perfect place to showcase what the Bahamas has to offer. The only thing better than cruising through our crystal blue waters by boat is flying over them and seeing the third largest barrier reef, seeing the pods of dolphins, seeing the life underneath our waters. Madam Speaker, our crystal blue waters are so clear you can see 30 feet down, and that's what they come here for. We are, and I am most happy to say, that the Grand Bahama Air Show is coming back in 2024. And a piece of that is some of those will be going through different family islands after the air show as well. So it's not just going to Grand Bahama and having an air show and flying back out. No. Once you're in the country, they will be flying to the other family islands and spreading that love around. So this private aircraft sector of our tourism economy is thriving and is set to thrive that much more. Madam Speaker, boating. Boating's another one that brings in significant revenue. The boaters that come in to the Albacos during these summer holidays, which is right now, you could find every size vessel. The Exumas are seeing them, Eleuthera is seeing them, and throughout the islands, as these boats become more advanced, it's becoming easier for them to traverse through our archipelago, spending money wherever they go, touching marinas, looking for them local guides, and so on and so forth. Boating is up 25% from 2021 to 2022, and it's looking to be even a more stellar year in 2023. Madam Speaker, we have ambassadors, tourism ambassadors, that we have designated. These are people that are in the business, that have great followings and can further highlight to their friends and to their colleagues across the world where to go, how to come here, and why you should, and the ease of getting in and out of the Bahamas. I'm thankful to these tourism ambassadors, because on a daily basis, as they're out flying or they're out in their boats, they're telling the story of where to go in the Bahamas and how close our geographic proximity is to Florida, to have those boaters come this way. I was surprised to see the small number that we actually get from the overall boating populace in South Florida, let alone the rest of the East Coast of the United States. This is growing. This is growing. We're touching them. Our travel goes to speak to them directly and show how easy it is to come and visit the Bahamas. Tourism is the lifeblood of our economy, and we're making sure that they know that we're here, that we're open to come, taste, feel, and touch what it is to be Bahamian. A lot of things we take for granted, they would love to come see. So private aircraft and boating are both up. We are moving towards having a better understanding of super yachts and mega yachts and the difference between the regular boating community and the yachting community. It is not the same. The clientele that we're looking to come to the Bahamas from the boating community in the 20-foot to 50, 60-foot range is entirely different than the 120 to 350-foot range. It's a much more boutique, much more specialized area that takes a different type of marketing and advertising. We know this. We're moving towards creating a more focused, ability to attract those. It's far too long that the Mediterranean and across the world has all the super yachts. They came this way, a lot of them came this way after COVID, to come down throughout the Caribbean, including the Bahamas, and we want to expand upon that. These boats down here, these yachts down here, when they're in port, they're liable to buy $5,000, $6,000 worth of flowers just to go put out. The economic impact to the Bahamian populace is high. So yachting, we're moving towards doing great things in yachting. Not only that, but we are also doing great things in diving and fishing. We have a diving, our dive week is coming to San Salvador for the first time, or had been in San Salvador for the first time. Trying to geographic diversification of our tourism throughout the Bahamas. Show other places that have superior diving destinations, superior places to go fly fishing like Andros. Across the Bahamas, every island is unique, and we are highlighting them. It's 16 major destinations, but it's hundreds and hundreds of islands and keys that can be touched by our friends from abroad coming by boat, by plane, or by cruise ship. So these are some of the things that are really, really moving in that sector. But when they're coming this way, it's important to recognize the hotels, the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, but most importantly, the hotels. A sector that had been running automatic for some time now without any real dive-in and development. A sector that this administration is looking at, and what we are doing is supporting and bringing hotels to the next level. We recently launched a new cloud-based property management system for hotel licensing process. Unlike the previous system, this system has the added ability for a payment gateway, which will make it easier for hotels to pay their licensing fees online. The days of going to find somewhere to pay these fees, or if it's open or not open, and so on and so forth, that's over. We want it to be a seamless and an easy way to not only get into the hotel business, but also get your hotel license renewed. There's been coordinated travel to over 30 islands and keys this year alone. We have our technical staff going out to see what these hotels look like. We want to make sure that the Bahamas brand and product is top-notch. What they are advertising is true throughout our islands, and to speak with the hoteliers to make sure there isn't anything that we can do to further help their development of that product in those islands. Hotels are important. Accommodations are important. These boaters, these private aircraft, when they come in, they need this. And to invite more to our shores, make sure that the accommodations are not only above board, but they're what they expect coming to the Bahamas. We're also, it's in the midst of a new inspectorate division So we're going to bring and work more closely with all the inspectors and seek to bring them under one umbrella so that the hotel relicensing every year is not a months and months and 6 or 8 months problem, but rather a seamless and easy few weeks, you're renewed. And it's digitized. So that at any given time, if you call in, they can look on the system and see that you have this inspection, you're missing this, and this inspection came back with maybe your pool doesn't have the right signs around it or something along those lines. But it is moving to the digitization of the renewals so we can have a more seamless and easy approach to the renewals of hotel licensing throughout our archipelagos. And being an archipelago, it's not always easy to get to an island, to get to the next island, to get to the office that you need to get to. So it's very helpful to have this information in your fingertips when you need it and how you need it. The development of a vacation rental registration portal in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance. Over 8,000 vacation rentals across our nation that we know about now. We need to know where they are. We need to make sure that our visitors coming from abroad are safe in their placement, but also that how we can help further market these, how we could show our friends from abroad what islands have accommodations. If there's not a hotel, there's a vacation rental. Where I'm from in Abaco, the Keys, vacation rentals are big business. They rent from anywhere from $2,000 or $3,000 a week to $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 a week. So it's a industry that is coming about, and it's an industry that we must not regulate, but understand. We must quantify and see the metrics of what has actually happened. We also must be sure that everybody doing business within the Commonwealth of Bahamas is on the same playing field. Hence, if you're doing business in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, you will have to pay VAT. You will have to contribute to the revenue of the government so that we can upkeep those docks that they use, the roads that they use. These things are very, very important, Madam Speaker. And I'm just checking my time, as I don't see that. I don't see that moving up there. But Madam Speaker, you know, traveling, going out, and gaining more. Thank you. More of our friends from abroad, as I call them, but more tourists to come to our shores. It takes travel. For instance, we haven't touched the Northeast United States market for boating and yachting. Well, we are going to touch it. I'll be in Newport tomorrow, Rhode Island tomorrow, in the yachting and sailing capitals of the United States to promote where they can come. Why cross the Atlantic to the Mediterranean when you could cruise down the coast, the east coast of the United States, slip into the Bahamas, and explore the many islands that we have to offer? Stop in Abaco, cruise past Eleuthera, and go down to the Exumas, and even further. We want to see them down in Inagua. We want to see them in Mayaguana and Long Island. We want to see these boats going throughout our archipelago. The days of a 3 or 4 or 5 day venture, well, now we're turning into 2 weeks and more. Abaco, I'm also working for you. Our tourism Abaco is growing. Baker's Bay is full on the weekends. They're looking to expand. Wine Bay Abaco Club, with one of the best golf courses in the world, is expanding. Montage Key is coming along quite nicely. That's going to be another jewel in Abaco's baskets of gems. And it'll be online next year in full. Even Crossing Rocks has a hotel coming. You know, you go down to Crossing Rocks and you say, oh, what's down here? Crossing Rocks is one of the very few places that you could go down and have some fried fish and peas and rice, maybe a nice sands, and see hundreds of albico parrots surrounding you.
Yep.
When you get down there, you're like, what's that noise? And until you look in that sea grape bush and you see the albico parrots flocking. The natural beauty and the natural wonder of our islands are what brings our tourists from abroad. And we're going to highlight that, just as we're doing nationwide, the geographic diversification of our tourism, we're doing in Albico, all the way up north to my colleague, and all the way down south to Crossing Rocks and Sandy Point, and Moores Island to come. So Albico's tourism is moving in the right direction. I was very pleased recently when I noticed that regattas in the Albicos weren't coming back. This is a staple for years, decades. I have many memories. I'm a sailor, and memories go into this regatta, and it wasn't coming back. I made a few phone calls to like-minded individuals, and I'd like to tell you, regattas in the Albicos is back. Starting on Friday, we touch Pete's Pub down at Little Harbor. We do our skippers meeting in Marsh Harbor. We have traditional triangle races and island-to-island races from Hopetown to Guanakee all the way up to Green Turtle. So this is a Central Albico-wide initiative. We not just brought regattas in the Albicos back, but it was formulated in such a way that the nonprofit was put together that we will be bringing a sloop regatta to the Albicos. We are also going to be expanding the youth sailing programs. In Hopetown, we have a youth sailing program, but it's limited. Not everyone can get there. I want to see our sailors from across Albico have the opportunity to get in a sailboat and see how good they are on the water. Just like I'm going to have an opportunity next year to look for that trophy to come my way.
Coming back for that.
The fishing tournaments are booming. Boat Harbor, Great Albico Beach had a marvelous tournament. 50-plus boats, almost 300 anglers doing great things right there in Central Albico. Walker's Key, almost 50 boats, more than 250 anglers. Walker's Key is back. Once one of the fishing destinations of the world. Some of the biggest names went to Walker's Key. And Walker's Key fishing tournament is back. The Deputy Prime Minister and myself were there on ground. Also went over to Grand Key to make sure that they were that they're thriving and what kind of tourism products that we could bring there. So the geographic diversification of our tourism product throughout Albico and throughout the Bahamas is being worked on and pushing forward, and you can see real results by the number of tourists come to our shores. So Albico tourism is on the move. I'd like to say again, if you're in Albico or you want to pass by, regattas in the Albico starting on Friday and going all through the Keys all the way up to Green Turtle. So come. If you're not sailing, participate in some of the onshore activities. But we're here to speak about some of these bills for the budget. And unlike some in this house, I do read. I like pictures, but I do read.
I'm criticizing your colleagues.
So I do not have the time that others have. However, there's a couple things that I do want to mention. One thing I do want to mention is the wisdom of the good member from Elizabeth, the Road Traffic Act. They were shooting around on Facebook that and saying you can't lend your car out. Man, fake news. Yeah. No, this bill is protecting the entrepreneur. This bill is protecting.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Anne's.
Very much. For the good member from South and Central Abaco to describe that piece, that draft of legislation as fake news is not correct. That was actually a form of legislation distributed by your House, and it didn't need to be raised. I'm not sure why he's brought it forward, but just so the record is clear, that piece of legislation was a draft circulated by your House after we had adjourned, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker,
Son, did you circulate that?
Madam Speaker, fake news.
Who circulate that?
Fake news. Let me tell you about this. Let me read something from this. An owner of a motor vehicle that has been registered and licensed as a private motor vehicle shall not cause or permit any other person to use it for a fee without first obtaining a self-drive service license. And it goes on. But this is important. This is important, Madam Speaker. We cannot, this is a Bahamian protected industry. We can't have anybody just going out and renting their vehicles without the proper SD plates, franchise license for golf carts, and so on and so forth. Entrepreneurs put a lot of effort and money and time into creating these businesses, and they should be protected. We can't have the foreign vacation rental including a golf cart or two in their rental and bypassing the Bahamian that has a rental company. I know in Hopetown, just this past year, we have 2 new franchise rental companies in Hopetown for golf carts. Young entrepreneurs taking advantage of a growing and robust tourism economy. So, as I have squashed it on WhatsApp and by phone and whatnot, I just wanted to be clear that the Road Traffic Amendment Bill 2023 is protecting the Bahamian entrepreneur and the Bahamian business. Thank you very much. The import of pleasure vehicle, vessels, boats. There's a minor increase in yearly registration, but that's going to be overshadowed by the import of pleasure vessels when you register them in the Bahamas without any duty or VAT. They can now keep their boats here. So let me bring this in simplest terms. Most of the boats in Abaco belong to the foreigners. They go out of the country every year. This will enable them to register them in the Bahamas and keep them in the country. That's more jobs. Who's going to watch those boats? What marinas are going to have them? What dry storage are going to have them? All their servicing, the mechanics, the boat bottoms, the painting, the marine electricians, and so much more. All that work can be done in the Bahamas now. Another thing that was put around hastily and not properly absorbed, but once explained to our second homeowners and our foreigners that live throughout the Bahamas, but mainly in Abaco, as I was speaking about, they were then most happy, most ecstatic. They're looking right now, as soon as this passes, they're going to be registering their boats in the Bahamas. But no need to take them out of the Bahamas no more. Let's keep those vessels right here. Right here in the Bahamas. So there's also a lot of other good things. You know, conveyance of property tax. Why would foreigners get a discount for under $100,000 value and so on and so forth? That should be for Bahamians only, and it is going to be for Bahamians only. Foreigner buying property down here can pay for that extra 10%. And if they're buying less than $100,000 value property, then I'm thinking they're in the wrong place. Let's keep those properties for Bahamians. So there's a lot of good legislation here, Madam Speaker. Business license for rental properties. Penalties for tax and arrears. This is another great one. I know I know property owners right now that foreigners that have never paid property tax. I know some that have never got a dock license or paid that tax until they go to sell the house, and their lawyer's like, well, where's your dock license? Oh, I never got a dock license. Oh, how long you been there? 10, 15, 20 years. Never paid a single piece of tax. These progressive amendments are going to make it so that revenue for the Bahamas is brought in a timely manner. We cannot have foreigners sitting on property for generations and then go sell it for 7, 8, 9 figures and want to make a deal with property taxes. No, you ain't paying your property taxes. They do it in the States. We need the property back. Let's divvy that up to the Bahamians that need it, you know? Let's not give our land away. So I read through many of these bills, and there's some really good legislation that is for protecting the Bahamians, for bringing the Bahamians to the forefront. The Tourism Development Corporation bill, I call that the bridge. You know what that is? That's the bridge from an idea, from an entrepreneur that wants to do something and knows all the hurdles in front of him. Tourism Development Corporation bill will be that bridge from an idea, conception, to profitability and revenue at the end. These cruise ships, to sell a product on their cruise ships, you have to have insurances, you have to have a certain level of equipment, you have to have all of these things. And this bill is going to help the Bahamian with economic empowerment. We're helping our people, Madam Speaker. We're showing them that, yeah, these people, these cruise visitors are here, or maybe in another island, there may be a different thing, but how can you benefit from that? There's a lot of talented, bright individuals with great ideas, but I call the Tourism Development Corporation bill the bridge to economic empowerment. So there's many, many good bills, and I've only pulled out a few of them because my good colleagues will speak more in depth to the ones that fall under their oversight and their purvey. But I just wanted to bring those ones out in particular. So there are many good bills. Many good bills. One of them that comes to mind as well, and I can't pass this up, the good member from Central and South Eleuthera, that local government are the people on the ground. They are the ones in the communities. Unlike other legislative government bodies, these are people that actually live in those communities full time. Well, I live in my community, but those are people that live in their communities full time. And they know what's best. 10% increase in their budget, that's big things. They can do a lot with that. I was the deputy chief counselor of the Hopetown District Council for some time, and it was always the end of the year. We may have had a few $1,000s extra, and we're like, well, we got Guanakee, we got Manawar, we got Scotland Key, we got Hopetown, Liniers, Toulouse, Lubbers. What are we going to do? Now they're going to have tens of thousands of more that they can do projects with. As always, I encourage everybody to work closely with your local government. Work hand in hand. We should be on one mission: to improve and better the Bahamians across our archipelago. So I thank the good member from Central and South Eleuthera for his push to put 10% on there. And I'd like to see more in future, but we will take what we can.
You take the 10%. You want more?
We'll take the 10%.
You want more? You can take it.
So while my time's running down, what I'd like to do is speak a little bit about the Abaco communities real quick. The good member from Carmichael's been doing great things in immigration. I know we're moving towards to deal with our shantytown issue, so I just want to tell my good constituents that, yes, We are still moving. You see the boots on the ground. You see things happening. This government cares, and we will make the Bahamas for Bahamians. So another thing that in Central Abaco, and this affects all Abaco really, is our police force, you know, after Dorian was just left in one little tiny room, like a little tiny room. The whole police force in Abaco left in one little tiny room. So I would like to tell you that a new police headquarters and accommodations is coming to Central Abaco. I would like to thank the good member from Freetown, the Minister of National Security, because he understands the needs. We are in constant dialogue, and I'm pulling a holistic list together for all the policing needs in Abaco so that we can start putting our forces back to where they need. We cannot have true protection. You cannot have them serving us if they are left without a place to hang their gun, so to say, but a place to work out of. We can't have chief superintendent and both assistant superintendents working out of one little tiny office. You can't have people coming in to get their gun license and they're sitting in there. So this administration is moving forward for all the departments and agencies to make sure that the good members, that the good people that serve in those have what they need to get the job done. I was thankful to the Deputy Prime Minister for putting not one, not two, but all three of Abaco's airports in the Renaissance of airports. From my understanding, there were some good proposals, and the Deputy Prime Minister and his technical team will be going through those, but I am looking forward to a new airport in Treasure Key, a properly running and expanded airport in Marsh Harbor, and for the first time, an airport down in Sandy Point so that we could boost the tourism down to Sandy Point, Crossing Rocks, Casuarina, Bahama Palm, and so much more. Good things are moving, Abaco. Good things are moving. So, from my understanding and from a conversation with my good member from Garden Hills there, this budget has a focus for sports in Abaco as well, to help rebuild those facilities. Madam Speaker, when I came into this chair, it was sad to see that previous administration closed down the sports and youth sports and culture office in Abaco. Really? They closed it down. There ain't no good athletes in Abaco. Really? Wow. Tell Stephen Gardner that. Tell the rest of them that. It was closed. Really? Nobody there. Nobody else. But the good member from Garden Hills right away put together, and we opened that back up, and now we're putting the sporting facilities, back together. And not only that, Coach Williams, proven coach, is there moving it. Another big topic in Abaco, and I just want to express clearly, the good member for Elizabeth is always working for Abaco. The port RFP is now on the portal. Not one port, two ports. The North Port, which was never dredged and never had a viable path to be used properly, is on there, as well as the Marsh Harbor Port, which is our bread and butter. All food, goods, everything that comes in by ship comes through the Marsh Harbor Port, and that needs a whole redo. So the request for proposal is out. We're looking forward to some good proposals to come in. So Abaco, you know how I like Abaco businesses, Abaco companies doing Abaco things. Put your people together, put your proposal in, and let's make this happen.
Makes sense.
Again, I'd like to thank the good member from Central and South Eleuthera. By next month, we'll have our Fisheries Marine Patrol boat and a truck to pull it. See, Madam Speaker, this is important. The marine control boat is important. We have all these boatsmen down in the Albacoas, and crawfish season is approaching. Well, crawfish season in Florida is a little different, so they come to Albaco and think they could crawfish earlier, mini season. Well, with a marine patrol boat out there on the water, it'll mitigate this. It'll create the environment where they won't have the urge to go out and take crawfish or spawning crawfish without being in season. Particularly spawning crawfish, which is the ones that has the eggs that will grow the next generation of crawfish. We must protect the fishing industry in the Bahamas. And Albaco has a robust fishing industry. So I'm very happy to see that Albaco will be a recipient of a Marine Patrol boat and a truck to pull it. Thank you again, Central and South Eleuthera. Urban renewal, I'm very thankful for the good member from Marathon. The repairs are underway. She was on boots on the ground the other day in Albaco. Boots on the ground in Albaco the other day, putting together an office in South Albaco and Sandy Point. Remember, there's 60 plus miles between Marsh Harbor and Sandy Point. That's a long distance, so we have to make sure that each of the communities have viable access within a certain amount of time. The DRA, boots on the ground, looking at the debris management sites, seeing how we could deal with those. Putting together the shelter right there in Central Pines in my colleague's constituency, and that in itself, I could speak a little bit more about that. The $900,000 foundation that the previous government put there was unusable. They didn't pack the earth down properly. They didn't do it properly. $900,000.
There'd have been nothing wrong with it.
2 or 3 block up foundation, can't even use it, so they went back to the drawing board. But things are on the move. Things are on the move, and I hear they're gearing up to do their own repairs program. So my fellow Albaconians, go into urban renewal, go into DRA, make sure they have your information. It's important. Did I tell you earlier that the good member from Elizabeth is on the ground? Yes. Affordable housing is moving. Yes. You see in Spring City, roads down, asphalt down, infrastructure down. Affordable housing in Albaco had a few hurdles, but I am told that it is moving. I went to see it with myself. It is moving. Yes. Affordable housing is moving in Albaco. So, Madam Speaker, I only got about 10 minutes, but 10 minutes left, but let me talk about a few things. Moore Island, work's underway. Infrastructure stuff is on the way. Seawall's almost done. Docks are next. The dock stuff is on the ground. We have the track and the dorms cleared out. Coach Williams is in Moores Island right now, and with a house full of aspiring athletes, some of the most talented, even some from Grand Bahama, trying to teach them just as he coached Stephen Gardner. So we're going to give them the sporting facility needed to make the next Olympians coming out of Moores Island. So I was also happy and thankful to the good member from Tall Pines. The clinic for Moores Island's coming. Previous administration put a clinic in a can. Well, let me tell you, it looks like a can. And because it can't work. 700 Bahamians. 700 Bahamians, and they don't have a proper clinic to go to. But we got you. We're coming. The technical team was on the ground again in Moores Island for the water issues, and I have seen with my own eyes the email from the good member from Short Charlotte instructing water and sewage to prioritize your needs. Water going off at 9 and 10 o'clock every night is not something that should be ongoing, but something that needs to be fixed immediately. And from my understanding, that reverse osmosis system was not very old. So I don't know what kind of system that was, or what kind of contract or deal that was, but obviously wasn't a good one. It was another failure by the past administration.
Yes, yes. Say that again. Failure.
Sandy Point, your fisherman dock, is deposits down and is being rebuilt. You see the derelict vehicles moving. The cleanup is underway, weather permitting. Looking at your homecoming site next, and internet, your free internet in the park. Sandy Point's next. Spring City, working on the library. Just got together with the plumber the other day to put the plumbing in, working to put the electricity in. You already have free Wi-Fi in Spring City's park, and the hoops, the rims, the balls, and everything for the basketball court, they're there. We're just resurfacing it, and you'll have your court soon enough. But Marsh Harbor, you can see all the potholes being filled. So that's a collaboration between Public Works and myself through my constituency funds. I have consistently hired the workers needed to patch the potholes, and they're consistently going around. As quick as the cold patch is coming in, we are patching those potholes. I know the hospital, that's one of the things that really needs to be fixed, and I'm constantly in dialogue with a good member from Tall Pines, and he assures me that he has a plan, and it'll come to fruition, and it will be fixed. But yes, we need proper technicians, proper doctors. We need that mini hospital to be in operation and working properly. So I hear you. I hear you. Guanakee. With the collaboration between Discovery Foundation for Bakers Bay and the government, your roads are done. You go down there right now, Guanakee, you got good roads. The clinic is underway. I want to thank the Discovery Foundation. The clinic is underway. It'll be done by the fourth quarter of this year. So Guanakee, things are on the move. Hopetown, the engineers from Public Works were down there putting eyes on the ground. The post office building, this is the post office, this is the police station, this is the local government head office, which encompasses Guanakee, Scotland, Manawar, and so on and so forth. It's also a historical site. It's a historical site. It's a building that's been there for hundreds of years that was damaged during Dorian. So post office building is coming back. Roadworks are being surveyed for their quantity survey. Manawar, your roadworks quantity survey is done. We're moving to the next step. Bear with me, things are coming. Things are coming for all my communities. So there's many other communities. We got, Casuarina, Bahama Palm Shores, Lovers Quarters, Toulouse. I want to say about Sandy Point as well. As you can see down there, your fire station is being renovated. The old truck that was garbage is out of there. I'm working to get a new truck down there. It is 60 plus miles to Marsh Harbor and 40 plus to Casuarina. You cannot rely on anybody else. We need a proper truck down in Sandy Point. I'm hearing you. I'm moving. You can see the work being done. So to say briefly, Don Parfit that was most instrumental in Hopetown is I'm taking over. It's Restore Hope, and it's more than just a name. We're going to help restore hope across Abaco. Hurricane season's approaching, Abaco. Hurricane season approaching. Abaco is the highest hurricane hit rate in the region, in the entire region. That's 139 locations. Grand Bahamas right behind us, and if you include tropical storms, Grand Bahamas just ahead of us. So we know that hurricanes are a thing, so be prepared. As these hurricane shelters are being put together, make sure that you have a plan. And closer to hurricane season, I will be on the ground. And if one hits, I will be there with you hand in hand on bringing Abaco back. Abaco's on the move, Madam Speaker. Abaco's on the move. Businesses are opening. Micro businesses are turning into small business turning into mid-sized business. Companies are hiring on a weekly basis. Abaconians, I'd like to would like to repeat the sentiments from the good member from Exuma and Ragged Island on his island. Abaconians come home. Abaconians come home. Abaco has a 0% unemployment rate. If you want a job, come to Abaco. Abaconians come home.
Come back home.
Abaconians abroad, bring your money back home. Let's put these rental units back together. Let's get these businesses put back together. Abaconians abroad, bring your money back home. We are growing.
It's the real Abaconians now. Come on.
So there are a lot of good things coming for Abaco. There's a lot of good things moving in Abaco. But we're here to speak about the budget, Madam Speaker. And I would like to say that the assortment of amendments and bills that were laid in conjunction with this budget is progressive. The Progressive Liberal Party always looks after the Bahamian people.
Yes.
All the Bahamian people.
Yes.
This administration looks after all the islands.
Yes.
Not just a select few, but all the family islands, Madam Speaker. I am blessed to be a part of this administration. I am blessed to stand here and say what's on my mind for Central and South Abaco. And if I had another hour, I can go on and on and on. But Central and South Abaco supports the bills. Central and South Abaco supports this administration. So God bless the Commonwealth of Bahamas, and God bless the Bahamians across our archipelago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member West Grand Bahama Indian.
Madam Speaker, it's an appropriate time for the lunch break, so we ask for suspension to return at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Thank you, Honorable Member. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House be suspended until 3 p.m. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The business of this House stands suspended until 3 p.m.
All rise.